Hey, Mr. B, flowers don't walk. This is Will Buchanan reporting for the Walk for Liberty. It's August 4th, 2008, day 101. Yesterday, in the Day 100 episode, I talked about how I had met with several local liberty-oriented people that were at the RV park we had been staying at. I also mentioned how the gentleman who owns the RV park had made an offhand comment about the draft. He said something to the effect that he would be in favor of all high school graduate age adults being required to serve 2 years in the military or civil service, similar to what the governments of other countries require, such as Israel or Finland. Some of the comments that people in the group had been making that evening I didn't agree with, but just let slide. However, I challenged him on his draft statement, which I think caught him off guard. I asked him why anybody should be required to give 2 years of their life to a government which he didn't trust and which, by his own account, doesn't follow the Constitution anymore. He argued it's because the youth of this country lack discipline and respect, and this would whip him into shape. He so benefited from his time in the military that now he wants to force everyone to have that experience. I know at least one person, Mark Edge of the radio talk show Free Talk Live, who said he greatly benefited from his time in prison and that he came out a better person than who he went in as. Should everyone also be required to spend time in prison because of Mark Edge's experience there? I also brought up the fact that being forced to spend 2 years in the military or government civil service would be equivalent to being a slave for 2 years, or at least being an indentured servant, which the 13th Amendment of the Constitution prohibits. A constitution which, by the way, he also claims to cherish. He tried to counter it by saying we're all slaves to the government already, so apparently there's no problem in being even more of a slave for 2 years. What I found perplexing was that on almost all other issues, he doesn't like government, or at least the federal government, interfering with people's affairs. Yet on this issue, they're good, right, and efficient. I even asked him if he thought private industry was better at producing goods and services than the government. He said they are, so why anybody should be spend 2 years of their life working for that inefficient government, I have no idea. Finally, I said to him, what if I encouraged my son or daughter not to submit to that program, and they decided not to spend that 2 years of their life working for the government in the military? What would he have done to them? He answered, well, they could just work in civil service that 2 years then. And I said, no, what if they didn't want to be any kind of bureaucrat working for the government for those 2 years, and would rather be a productive individual, actually working to make their own unique contribution to society? He eventually started dodging the question, saying he didn't know the specifics of what would ultimately happen to the people who decided to sign up back in his day, which was apparently in the Vietnam War. I guess he didn't want to admit that with the system he's advocating, he would throw my son or daughter in jail just for trying to live a free life. I think this must have been where Microsoft got their Windows background from. I guess that's some kind of spider. It looks like it might have its front 2 legs sticking up in front. I realized I didn't put a coin down for comparison on that spider or spider-looking thing, but I estimate that its body itself was about 2 inches long. Altogether today, I walked about 20 2/3 miles. Here's my location via GPS. This is Will Buchanan for blog.walkforliberty.com, signing off. It looks like we'll be staying in the Old West tonight.